time to flip it around and do 1/10 of. Remember, when we're looking for 1/10 of a number, we're looking for 10 times smaller, as opposed to when we did 10 times as much as, we were looking for 10 times bigger. So we're going to be working through the same problems, just switching around to 1/10 of. Let's look at this first one. What is 1/10 of 4/10? Now that's a lot of weird words in there, and I hope you can stay with me to understand this one. 1/10 of 4/10. So we're looking at 1/10 of 4/10. If we're looking for 1/10 of it, we're looking for 10 times smaller. Remember, 1/10 is if like you have a pizza and you cut it into 10 slices. If you take one slice, you're looking for a smaller piece than that whole pizza. So if we're looking for 1/10 of a number, we're looking for a smaller number. So if we're looking for a smaller number, just like when we went right, we went up. If we're going left in order to go down. So all we're going to do is move that decimal point 1 to the left. So our answer would be 0 and 4/100ths instead of 4/10. So we would read this as 0 and 4/100ths is 1/10 of 4/10. That was a lot of words. Let's do a couple more. What is 1/10 of 1 and 26/100ths? Let's take a look at this. 1/10 of 1 and 26/100ths. So we're looking at us for a small piece of 1 and 26/100ths. If we want to go smaller, we want to go left. So let's go ahead and move that decimal point 1 to the left. That's going to get us 0 and 126 thousandths. 1/10 of 1 and 26/100ths is 0 and 126 thousandths. All we're doing is moving that decimal point. Let's do another one. What is 1/10 of 10 and 29/100ths? So we're looking for 1/10 of 10 and 29/100ths. If we're looking for 1/10 of it, we want to go 10 times smaller. So we're going to go left to go smaller. So let's move our decimal point over 1 to the left. So we're going to get 1 and 29 thousandths. Remember, even if there's a 0 there, we're still going to read it as 29 thousandths because the 9 is in the thousandths place. Let's do one more like this before we move on to the other kind. What is 1/10 of 12 and 3/100ths? Let's take a look at that. 1/10 of 12 and 3/100ths. If we're looking for 1/10 of, we're looking for a small piece of it. So we want to go left to go smaller. If we move our decimal point 1 to the left, that's going to give us 1 and 203 thousandths. We move our decimal point 1 to the left because we're looking for a small piece, looking for 1/10 of it. So it's going to be 1 and 203 thousandths. Let's move on. Now we're getting to a little bit trickier. 7/10 is 1/10 of what number? So 7/10 is the smaller piece of what number? Just like we did in the last one. We want to go bigger for this because 7/10 is the small piece of a bigger number. So we want to find out what that bigger number is. So all we're going to do is move our decimal point 1 to the right, and our answer is 7. Let's keep going and doing a couple more of these. 1 and 23/100ths is 1/10 of a bigger number. So 1 and 23/100ths is the small piece of a bigger number. So let's figure out what that bigger number is. Remember, if we're looking for a bigger number, we want to go to the right. So we're just going to move our decimal point 1 to the right. That's going to be 12 and 3/10. So 1 and 23/100ths is 1/10 of 12 and 3/10. 12 and 3/10 is 10 times bigger than 1 and 23/100ths. Just like when we used to do this, we would add zeros. This time, instead of adding zeros, all we're doing is moving that decimal point over. Let's do a couple more. 9 6/100 is 1/10 of. 1/10 of a bigger number. So if we're looking for a bigger number, we want to go to the right. So let's go ahead and move our decimal point over 1 to the right. That would get us 90 6/10. So 9 6/100 is one small piece of 90 6/10. I think we're doing one more. Yep, this will be our last one before we move on to some problems. 6 2/10 is 1/10 of a bigger number. So if we're looking for a bigger number, we're going to go to the right. Let's move it over 1. So 6 2/10 is 1/10 of, is one small piece of 62. I hope you understood those. Go ahead and match some of these together. And then when we come back, we'll be going over some problems in the book together.